Hi, welcome back to my channel. Today it's going to be all about references. Should you use references? Spoiler alert, yes. And how to use them to grow and to create unique works of art. So let's get into it. So this tutorial is going to be about how to use references to create your own unique pieces of art. It's not going to be about how to use references in order to do a study. When you do a study, you are taking either a photograph or somebody else's illustration, and you are trying your best to replicate it so that you learn composition or different techniques and things like that. So just remember to be careful when using references to not copy too closely, because then you might end up in copyright territory. I would recommend to look up the laws in your own country if you're curious. And what I'm going to provide is just kind of like guidelines.
The code is more what you'd call guidelines than actual rules.
Well, that being cleared up, let's get into it. My first use of references is for gesture drawings. Gesture drawings are a great way to warm up before an illustration, and it's also a great way to practice drawing the human body. The more you do gesture drawings, the better you'll be at drawing a human pose in a convincing and natural way. So I have this idea to have a girl jumping through the clouds, and I want the illustration to look magical. So the first thing I do is some research, and Pinterest is a great place to be able to organize all that research. So what I look for is just a bunch of images of people jumping. And now that I have all those references gathered, now I'm going to use them to practice drawing people jumping. So it's just as simple as that. They're gesture drawings where I am trying to really capture the feeling of jumping more than the actual anatomy involved. I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah, it's just more just practicing and getting kind of loose and just getting ready to do the full illustration. So that's what this phase is all about. So yes, references are important so that you can improve your skills by just practicing and practicing and practicing. That's really all art is you have to practice a lot in order to improve. So it's a great way to do warm-up by using references to do gesture drawings. Okay, so I'm gonna let this time-lapse recording of my warm-ups finish up, and I'll be right back with the next section, which will be thumbnail sketches. The next way I use references is to figure out the composition of my illustrations. I don't know much about composition, so I look for illustrations that work for me, and then I take elements of those illustrations in order to create my thumbnail sketches. Okay, so next up are thumbnail sketches, and thumbnail sketches are kind of like a miniature version of your final illustration. They're a good chance to do some exploration. So from my warm-ups, I actually really like this pose right here, and I also like a combination of this one and this one, so these two together. So I'm gonna try out just some different compositions for these poses, and the cool thing is that poses are not copyrighted. So if you like something you've already drawn, just go ahead and just stick to that. But I want to do a little more exploration and change and tweak some positions of the limbs. So let's get into that. The final way I use references is to come up with a style for the illustration. So developing your own unique artistic style seems to be like the holy grail for most artists. It's something that we desperately want, but is really difficult to obtain. So the way I go about it is by surrounding myself by many different artists with lots of different styles. At least that's what I'm trying to do. And then figure out what parts of their style I like, and then bring that into my own illustrations and kind of become like a melting pot of different elements from different artists. I feel like if you do that enough, it will lead towards a more unique and individual style. So for this illustration, I wanted to do a magical, colorful, line art heavy style, and that made me think of a few people that I follow on Instagram. I'm gonna butcher these names, but I think their names are Syllabine and Vicky Sai, and also Vacon. Oh my gosh, I feel like I just said bacon. Anyways, I'll have their Instagram links down below if you want to take a look at them. They are wonderful artists. And I tried to combine those styles into what I imagined this illustration to be. So I'm going to go ahead and let the time lapse run and meet you at the end of the illustration. Okay, so we're almost at the end of the video. Sorry about the zoomies, by the way. I need to learn how to record better without it affecting my workflow, but I haven't quite figured that out. But I wanted to end with a review of how I use references. So again, number one, to practice gesture. You can never practice enough gesture, and if you do it enough, trust me, it will make you a better artist. Number two, you can learn composition by looking at references. So just look at an illustration that's very aesthetically pleasing and just take some elements from that illustration. And number three, you can use references to develop a style. I know we want to be unique and we want to be snowflakes, but the reality is the more you surround yourself with better artists than yourself, the more you will grow, and the more your style will start to feel more defined and more unique. And that is it. Thank you so much for watching my video. I hope you enjoyed it and that it was useful. If you'd like to support me, you can like, share, and subscribe this video. Subscribe to my channel, and you can also visit me on Patreon. Really, all your support helps me to keep going and creating content. So I hope to see you next time. Bye!